What do you look for from North Texas?
We're unsure, because they've kind of changed a little bit from game one to the UAB game. They've had a couple quarterback changes. They're a little bit more power oriented at the beginning of the year, and they've kind of shifted. They've played a little bit more athletic quarterback, a little bit more quarterback run scheme the last 2 weeks, and then they made a third quarterback change against UAB. So kind of got to prepare for it all.
Talking about you guys, seems like what gave you guys problems last week and maybe even the week before a little bit weren't issues to start the season, giving up explosive plays, and especially that. So any particular reason why that's kind of becoming an issue now as opposed to before?
Well, obviously you can't win football games when you're giving up 6 explosive plays that's over 25 yards. I mean, statistics show that if you give up more than 2 over 25 yards, your odds of winning that football game aren't very good. That's a correction that we've obviously tried to look at over the break week or the bye week. How do we give ourselves a better chance? When you look at it, critically and evaluate it, you say, okay, well, we have a coverage bust. He knew he had him at the start of the play, but then he takes his eyes off him because it's an execution error. We have a couple missed tackles. Schematically, can we put our guys in a better shape to make those plays? We've done all kinds of tackle drills. They're going to hit a play or two. With what you're doing, they've got scholarship players. We've got a couple guys that just didn't make plays when we needed to. So you look at it, both ways, and you say, how do you do it better? And we just critically evaluate and say, are we doing the right things? Do we believe in the things we're doing? Yes. Can we put ourselves in a little bit less man-oriented situations? Yes. So we've got to just try to help our guys out and put them in positions to win and keep doing the same things over and over again and not changing up a little bit on them. Maybe our execution improves.
You said 6 explosive plays. Where does that fall in line with other games?
Other games we've lost, it's around 4, but that was in a big game where 6 is the real high end. I mean, you just can't do that. I mean,
that's the most this season?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Mississippi State, I think we had 4. But that was 6 is a big one.
I guess Coach Monken talks a lot about on the bye week taking a look at yourselves as opposed to the opponents. What's really the biggest thing that comes out of the bye week for you guys?
I'm studying third down. How do we get off the field better on third down, especially early? Going back and studying what other teams are doing, NFL teams are doing. I love to study the game strategically, and how do we put our guys in better shape in better positions to make the plays and get off the field? Are we doing things that are giving them a chance? And that's what we focused on. Basically, myself was third down in bye week.
Aside from that one play you referenced where it was kind of busted coverage, would you say that maybe an inability to pressure the quarterback last week led to some of that, giving him more time?
Yeah, you get him and he starts scrambling around and he creates some things on his own. That's something that you always got to worry about with athletic quarterbacks. How do you keep them in there? Do you spy them? You go through the gamut of, well, I should have spied him and maybe, kept him in there a little bit better, or then when you rush him with 3 and then he's got all day to stand back there and throw. You go through that gamut of emotions and critically looking at it all the time. I mean, how do you put a value on a DB not making a play that he had a chance for? So, you constantly second guess. I constantly second guess every call you make that's successful. You live and die as a defense coordinator on every yard. So when you're looking at it, you just got to stop and say, man, are we doing the right things? And there isn't a day or a minute that goes by in your day where you're not constantly thinking of that. And so that's what we have really tried to go back and look at third down. Are we doing the right things? And I believe we are. We just got to be smarter about how we're executing them and getting our guys, to understand, anticipate a little bit better. As younger players, we're playing some younger corners that, okay, we've got to give them, all right, educate them on to what exactly the down and distance is, how you're playing guys and positions, and, what to anticipate with motions and shifts, and all that's part of the growing process.
Getting Bradley back help that part of it.
Yeah, because it gives you a better pass rusher, all that, when there are some teams that are fortunate to rush with 4 and create pressure, and, and it depends upon the quarterback you're playing. Can you, like it's like Blake Sims, do you let Blake Sims throw the ball, or do you really try to get after him so it squirts him around where he's more mobile and makes more plays when he gets out on the edges, that's always that risky situation. You never know, and hindsight's 20/20. Yeah, we probably should have, tried to keep that dude in the pocket and make him throw it a little bit more. And we can't go back. We can't turn back the hands of time. The only thing we can do is try to improve and learn from those mistakes, and have our young players learn from those mistakes and grow from them, and we'll be better next week for it.
On the inexperience of your cornerbacks, what has the experience of Kalen Reed meant to those young guys?
Kalen's a good player. He studies the game. He obviously teaches those guys. Anytime you get an older player that's played a lot of reps and has been coached a lot by different coaches, and he shares his knowledge of the game with those younger players, and the guidance and mentorship, or whatever you want to use as a term, is invaluable anytime you get older players to help younger players grow.
Both teams 2-4 overall, both looking for their first conference win. What's it like for you as a coach, knowing that the opposing side is probably in that same mindset as a team?
I'm excited just to go out and try to win another game. We worry about the next week. When I was here, we talked about it extensively with Gerald McGrath. When I was here my first year back in Southern Miss, and we were 2-4 sitting in the same situation. And we had an older group of players that said, we're not going to end our season this way. We're going to go out and we're going to do everything we can to practice to try and set the tone as leaders, that we're not accepting 2-4. And they took the team on their back, and it was amazing. I've seen the transformation of guys that just willed their team to win, and hopefully we get some leadership and guys that are just saying, hey, we're going to take the team on our back, and we're going to will this thing, and we're not giving up, and we're going to do everything we can, to come out with a W on Saturday.
I know you say you hope to see that from players, but are there any individual players on defense right now that you kind of see carrying the team, like trying to will them to, on the field?
Well, I've been, the benefit for us this year is some of those older players are helping us, the Jacorius Cottons, Rakeem has been a leader, Alan Howes, those guys that have played a lot of reps are starting to, impress their will to get guys, to work at the game a little harder, organizing things, off the field without the coaches organizing them. Alan's talking about, hey, let's get together as a group of linebackers to watch tape, to get better, to be more prepared for this week. So, yeah, that is really beneficial to us for some of those older kids being here.
Is that a parallel, you're talking about that 2-4 at this point in the season of your first year, is that a parallel you've communicated to the guys?
Oh, no doubt. I just talked about it, which of you seniors is going to will this team and not accept, going the same route as what we've been going. Who is going to be the guy that's going to say enough is enough, and, close isn't good enough. We've got to have some guys that step up and say, it isn't acceptable to be 2-4 and 2-5. We're not going to go down that route, and it's going to take some, hard work, and some guys are going to, practice harder and concentrate harder and focus and dial in and all those things, all those little coaching cliches you talk about. It doesn't do any good to talk about it unless you get guys that are really going to buy in and just say, hey, we're not accepting this, and they've got to take some ownership in it as part of players, and as much as we talk about as coaches, you still have to execute on the field. We can't go out there and play. So we've got to have some guys that are willing to put their neck out there and say, you know, this is not acceptable. And sometimes, you know, not being liked or being a good teammate, you know, you got to push some buttons that you might not want to push, but some guys got to be pushed. Sometimes peer pressure works the best.
North Texas turning the ball over at an extended rate last week. Is that a point of emphasis this week for your defense to maybe create some more?
Well, it's always a point of emphasis. You know, the turnover ratio is huge in affecting wins and losses. Obviously, we preach it, we practice it, we talk about it every day. You know, hopefully we can keep that chain of events going for us. It works, you know, we're optimistic. We hope we can create a couple of those. We've been pretty good at it this year, so hopefully we can keep that going.